Dr. West, would you like to clap yourself in?
Clap myself in. Is that
Ha.
a Canadian thing?
No.
Okay. Clap. I'm very fascinated with just Japanese itself as a language, but I try in all my work to make it clear that we study Japan to learn about things that are beyond just Japan, rather than obviously Japan's interesting in and of itself, but using Japan as a way to go beyond some of the flaws or the misunderstandings that come about when we only analyze, for instance, European context, European languages, and then try to apply that to broad statements that are supposed to apply to humans around the world. So I guess that's my little spiel.
Great. So if I ask you to write your slang dictionary in physical form, will you do it?
That would require money. Like I've considered turning the dictionary into a book. The question is, one, it'd have to be more interesting than the dictionary, because why would anyone buy it if it exists online? And that's possible, but I would need a publisher who's willing to do that.
Macmillan, get on it. I want
Macmillan,
this
yeah, no,
book.
like it's possible. It's been in the back of my mind if I could turn some of this, slang stuff into a book on Japanese slang, etc. If I can convince the university that it's a worthwhile research project, even though it's a non-traditional one, then that makes it easier. But eventually, yeah, that'd be cool. If there's demand out there for it, it'd be a
I'm the
blast to get.
demand. I am
You're
demanding
the
that you
demand?
write.
I think we need to secure more than one confirmed buyer, but that's the start. It starts with one, right? I hope that in my lifetime I do see the vast variety of Japanese elevated a bit and appreciated a bit more on a way that shows institutional backing, because there is a huge amount of different ways of speaking Japanese. And with my attention to slang, etc., it's my little attempt at contributing to that a little bit, because I'm not a dialect specialist. But recording and recognizing this stuff as legitimate, slang terms as legitimate. I try to do edutainment. I try to be fun with it. I try to make people laugh, but I also try to present it seriously as like this is a term that deserves attention as a legitimate term, as a legitimate variety, is something that I view as very important. And I would like to, I hope that in my lifetime, I will see, people from Kansai, people from Hokkaido, people from Tohoku, people from all regions of Japan on the news, giving the news in a way that reflects their background and celebrates
So
that.
we start off with a short question. Can you explain how the word cho came to mean super good?
No. Cho in has that kind of meaning of extreme to it in just its normal use. So my guess is it was just kind of an extension. Like if you look at the kanji, it has uses of that have not been considered slang. So just taking it from kanji compounds and applying it to like adjectives and stuff like that was, I guess, a logical step is the wrong word, but a fairly, understandable step.
Systems. Do you see a shift and a move away from kanji?
Answer is absolutely no. I see a decrease in people's ability to handwrite kanji, just like there's a decrease in people's ability to handwrite or spell words. Like if it wasn't for the little squiggly red line in Microsoft Word, I probably couldn't write English anymore. But actually, I think kanji literacy is going up. And that's because you've seen words like kirei, which used to only be written in katakana, being written in kanji again. Not because the government said, hey, let's increase the kanji, but because people use it in texting so much that people are familiar with it, even if maybe they're a bit hesitant to write it. So I think kanji, I think the future of kanji is bright, assuming as long as Japan exists, basically. It's the chance to get rid of kanji was right after World War II. That was the last chance. And I don't think they should have done it. And I'm glad they didn't. And they didn't. And now it's too late. It's not like a small spelling reform. You'd be cutting off every Japanese person from not only like the history of Japanese writing, which, you know, kind of has happened, but all the updates to those books, like the Tale of Genji and in modern writing standards, etc., you'd be cutting them off from everything that's been written on the Japanese internet for decades now.
Mhm.
All modern literature and writing. The benefits aren't there. The claims that were quite common in the past, especially from Western linguists, that Japanese people were like harming the future of the country by spending all this time memorizing characters or wasting their time learning these characters when they could be learning other things. Those have been proven false. But I do predict the average Japanese person's ability to handwrite kanji will decrease significantly, and continue to. Yeah.
Next question. So, does stroke order really matter?
If you're very, very good at like just writing. If you have good handwriting, if you're very artistic, I'm sure you can make very nice looking kanji regardless of the stroke order. But I do think it's important. The two reasons that you really need to pay attention to stroke order in Japanese are, ironically, one, more than ever, it's actually like technology has made it more important because the best Japanese dictionaries will allow you to write the kanji, right? If you pay for a really good Japanese dictionary, a feature we'll have is that you can write the kanji rather than looking it up by radicals. How do those systems figure out what kanji you're writing? Stroke order. So I didn't pay attention to it, and then I had to relearn it all so I could use my dictionaries right.
Oh.
Uh, so that was silly, and I wish I just believed the teacher a bit more. And secondly, I saw a video, a random like YouTube video on it, on like why stroke order is important, and they brought out the old chestnuts of like it looks prettier. It's like, but they did mention that when you follow the stroke order, you learn the radicals better and you learn what parts of kanji are. And I did agree with that. And they were pointing out like when you draw a box in Japanese, right? You have the 1, 2, 3
Hmm.
system. If you just draw a square, like again, if your handwriting is good enough, I think you could pass it off without people noticing your stroke order is messed up. But there is value in understanding that, like, okay, this is the box part, right? Or like if you follow the stroke, you're like, oh, this is this part. And you can actually break the kanji into their pieces that form them. And that does help understand what's going on. It helps like, oh, this is a phonetic element that I see. This is how it looks, right? That part is beneficial. Every book mentions it. There's always pictures of it. Just do it.
For the next question, how did each become hitotsu and so on? Why are Japanese counters so difficult?
Backwards, backwards. So Ichi didn't become Hitotsu. Hitotsu became Ichi because both Japanese and Korean have two counting systems. One is native and one is borrowed from Chinese. The tsus, Hitotsu, Futatsu, Mitsu, etc., is related to the native Japanese counting system, which was used to count everything. I wrote this information actually in a blog article, I think a few years ago, because there's no reason for me to keep it in my head, but I did want to know it. But there are ways to count above, like right now you don't count, the generic counter is not used above 10, right? You get to toll and you're done. You don't do like, juitotsu or anything like that. But there used to be ways to count, obviously, above 10 without the Chinese system. But the influence of China on Japan, Japanese, what we now call, Korea, Korean, has been massive, and that involves the introduction of extra counting systems. So basically, Japan now has this kind of uh, everything's a collective noun style counting system. Everything works like that in Japanese, right? Everything is like a sheet of paper, a ream of paper. And that's basically the influence of Chinese. That system existed in Chinese. Why did that system exist in Chinese? Who knows? The better question is why doesn't it exist in English, right? Who knows? They felt they needed it. And
Can you talk a bit about the theme song culture in Japan? Why are Japanese jingles made with such odd and strange lyrics? And the person says like the Sakana song, the Don Quixote song, the Otobashi camera song, etc.
I'm not the right person to ask for that. That's kind of out. But I would say I don't find any of those to be odd. I don't find them any weirder than English jingles. The purpose of a jingle is to get it stuck in your head. So if it's stuck in your head, then it's not a weird jingle. It's a very effective jingle. Yeah,
What
I would say that just for whoever asked that question, I'm not trying to like, don't feel bad, but try to avoid anything that's like, why is this weird thing? There's very little that's actually weird. The fact that it's different or unexpected doesn't make it weird. And looking at things, especially there's a lot of weird Japan stuff, and I don't enjoy the weird Japan discourse. It's very easy to look at something that's outside of what your norm is and find it weird, but it's usually more effective to think maybe my norm is actually what's weird. Because for Japanese people, these aren't weird. And if you've grown up with jingles your entire life and you get into advertising, you'll probably try to make a jingle.
they're
I
the
think the more
smart
interesting
ones.
question is why did the English speaking world often abandon jingles? That to me is the actual question. What causes we all had jingles. Where did they go? We know why jingles are good. They sell things, they get stuck in your brain. So why don't we have them anymore? That would be the weird thing to me, is the abandonment of the jingle.
So I
I
would
mean, I
much
still remember
rather.
the Doublemint and the Folgers
Yeah,
jingles.
yeah, exactly.
Start waking up, it's Folgers in
Folgers
your
in
cup.
your cup. Yeah,
Yeah, that's stuck in my
exactly.
head 30 plus years later. So where, that's return on investment as far as advertising goes. I don't remember any advertisements I've seen in the last 3 years, but I will die with the Folgers jingle in my brain. So there you go. Like, yeah.
So please tell us about Lingua
Okay.
Brutalica.
Lingua Brutalica. Lingua Brutalica is a weird little side note that I'm not very proud of. We just blind email people who are the singers or lyricists of metal bands. Now 65, well 67, we've released 65 episodes, but 67 of them have been kind enough to sit down with us and chat. And that includes some people, that are new and just doing cool stuff to some people that I've been listening to for decades that have been kind enough to take an hour or two and chat with me and my co-host Jess about how they approach the idea of writing metal lyrics, like why they make the decisions they do. This came about because my co-host Jess Crook works at the University of Western Australia, and she is a sociolinguist of Indonesian and Chinese. Great researcher, great person, big fan. Jess has been someone that throughout my career has been encouraging and really helping me figure out options for more connecting research to the broader world. She's the one that, for instance, said, "Hey, TikTok's pretty fun. You should check it out." And we never thought it would last, really, to be honest, but it has, as I mentioned. And again, like it's not a big thing. It's super niche. Like it's the sociolinguistics of death metal, and that's taking two small audiences and shrinking them even smaller. And we've really appreciated more than anything. We've appreciated that after a lot of the interviews, like the people we interviewed say, I never get to talk about this stuff. And we have been able to feature some Japanese artists on there. We had Psy, which is an incredible long running band. We had Himari, a Japanese kind of metal idol who has since then, not because of us, with no relation to us, exploded in her own right. And yeah, if you like it, if you're interested, check it out. It's on Spotify, it's on Podbean. If you want to hear people that are very, very passionate about language talk about how they use language, I think that's why we're really proud of it. Okay.
Unless you had something else you wanted to shop before I
Uh,
pause it.
no, thanks for listening to me answer all of your questions for too long. Sorry for talking so much. But thank
You,
you. Yeah,
we,
hope if you watch this all the way to the end, thanks. Sorry.